welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to be ranking every Diary of a Wimpy Kid book. Here's some rules. Movies don't count, must be funny, must be creative, and it must be ranked on how it originally looks like. So without further ado, let's get started. 26. Diary of Greg Heffley's Best Friend. Okay, why does this even have to exist? This is essentially, Diary of an Awesome Friendly Kid, Raleigh Jefferson's journal. He just split it out the parts. Except, this is very unnecessary. Like, why would you just, make another, small, very small book? And, yeah, this is just not that good. It's just, really just taking some parts and then putting it into a new book. So, honestly, it's just not that good to do. And honestly, it's not creative. 25. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, a do-it-yourself book. Now, this would be ranked higher, but remember, I am ranking these from how it looks like when you first get it. And when you first get it, everything is blank. And, it's blank until you start actually drawing and writing on it. And, writing what you're supposed to do on it. And, honestly, the only reason why I ranked this higher is because in 26 is just copied from, the actual, Raleigh Jefferson's, book. But, in this one, it's, very new. But even then, everything blank? Seriously? Come on. 24. The Wimpy Kid, a do-it-yourself book. Now, the reason why I rank this a little, just not that much, a little higher, is because it adds in more stuff. Well, that's unique. It's still blank. Some of the stuff for drawing is still blank. Honestly, I don't really... It's fun when you start drawing on it, but remember, we're ranking it how it originally looks like, so this is just bad stuff. 23. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Double Down. This is the first book actual book that I'm actually gonna rank. I'm keeping this low because, well, first of all, the plot line is horrible. It goes in and out of places. Second of all, the book is just very mixed, honestly, and at reviews. It's just not that good. It's just, if you were thinking of a Diary of a Wimpy Kid book to read, don't pick this one. I really suggest you because this is just very garbage. So I wouldn't recommend you go back to this book and have some fun because it's not fun. 22. The Wimpy Kid Movie Diary, the Next Chapter. Have you ever wanted to know behind the scenes of movies? Like this movie, for example? Well, this movie talks about behind the scenes of a garbage and not good movie. Well, I do like the behind the scenes, but the casting is just off. I don't know, the behind the scenes, there's one part where there's a guy who looks scary. Well, the details are pretty good and stuff. It's about behind the scenes of a bad movie. And plus, some of the stuff in here are also pretty bad as well. So, if you want to check out Wimpy Kid Movie Diaries, I suggest to not go back on this one. 21. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Third Wheel. So, this was the very first Diary of a Wimpy Kid book to get kind of mixed reviews, I think. But it definitely shows why this book is mixed. Some of the plot lines in this book, subplot lines, aren't that great. This focuses more on Valentine's Day dance, which I like. But honestly, the subplots are the book things that kind of ruin the book a lot. It's not perfect. Everything's just fine. Everything's okay. It's just not that great of a book. And, it makes sense why this book is mixed. Every subplot isn't that great. 20. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Old School. Honestly, this book isn't that really well received. Simply because the book is really just kind of bland in some areas. The plotline is okay. And the no cell phones part. Now that part is very big in the story. And even going on a trip, to a school trip as well. But honestly, everything is pretty bland. And it's just okay. 19. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Hard Luck. This is essentially the sequel to Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Third Wheel. And this is a little bit better than The Third Wheel. I'm saying a little because the plot is still kind of okay, and there's some parts that are bland. But I genuinely enjoyed this book. Even though it is bland in some areas, I definitely enjoyed the subplots and its main plot in the story. 18. Raleigh Jefferson's Awesome, Friendly, Spooky Stories. This one is very cool. He talks about scary stories that are fictional. But spoiler alert, he also talks about a real story that actually happened between Raleigh and Greg. And these stories are so cool. The only reason I ranked it a little bit lower is simply because it could scare some young children. And some parts are kinda a little bit okay. But still, it is an epic and outstanding book. 17. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Last Straw. Ignore that censor. It's only because I don't want to see his undies, and plus, it's good if I censor this stuff, because I don't want people to see undies. This was actually one of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books to release in 2009, and this was the only time they released 2 books in 1 year. This was actually a really decent book. The plot was really good. The main plot was good. The subplots were really good. Basically, everything was pretty good. It's a very okay story, and honestly, it was very average for me. 16. The Wimpy Kid Movie Diary. This talks about the behind the scenes of a Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie that was actually really good. This really was an epic book. It talked about the behind the scenes of how they made the book, its casting, etc. It was a lot better than the next chapter, only because the next chapter talked about casting of a really bad movie, just saying. But honestly, the Wimpy Kid Movie Diary, the first one, is really good and very top-notch. 15. The Wimpy Kid Movie Diary, now including the new movie Logic Rules. Wait, there's another one? Wow! This book is even better. This not only talks about the first movie yet again, but it also talks about Logic Rules. And it's even better. And it's definitely my favorite behind-the-scenes book. 14. The Wimpy Kid Movie Diary, the story of all 3 movies. You know what? I changed my mind. This is my favorite behind-the-scenes book. Simply because it even talks about the other movie, including Logic Rules and the first movie of Behind the Scenes. It also talks about Dog Days, and it's definitely my favorite one. It just really, again, very top-notch. 13. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, the very first Diary of a Wimpy Kid book. First released on Funbrain, then released as an actual book in 2007. This was a really fantastic book. It's very simple, but it's still arguably one of my favorites, and it's definitely aged well. So you should definitely revisit this book because it's awesome. 12. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Meltdown. After a lot of cold weathers, Greg and Raleigh decide to go to a different neighborhood bus after a very short period's schedule day. Because, it was very cold, okay? But here's the thing. Someone threw a snowball while they were driving, while the bus driver was, driving. And they thought it was Greg, and they were angry. This began a snowball war at a lot of neighborhoods, and it became an all-out snowball war. This ended up becoming one of the greatest Diary of a Wimpy Kid books ever, because its writing, its plot, everything makes it outstanding. 11. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Long Haul. While its movie counterpart isn't impressive, the book counterpart is really good. This was actually from a fan who made up with this idea, who came up with the thumbnail and its title. And that's because Jeff Kennedy did a contest, and what resulted, the person made up a really good idea. Simply, them traveling around, the areas. And it ended up becoming a really cult classic, honestly. Its plot is really good. It's outstanding. It's definitely aged well, and it's one of my favorites. 10. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Logic Rules. The sequel to Diary of a Wimpy Kid, the second book. It is really outstanding. Its plot is good. Its story is good. The relationship between Greg and Roderick is good. It's really outstanding, and it's definitely aged well. Not just that, just the subplots are also pretty good. Just everything just aged well, and it's definitely a personal favorite of mine. 9. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Dog Days. This was a really interesting book, considering the fact that this book took place during the summer instead of actually during the school times. And it was a fantastic book. It's definitely aged well, and its story is so good that it's definitely a really personal favorite of you and me. Like, if it was your personal favorite, like, I would agree, because this was a fantastic book. 8. Diary of an Awesome Friendly Kid, Raleigh Jefferson's Journal. This book starts out similar to the original Diary of a Wimpy Kid book, but then goes a little bit different and talks about past stuff with Greg and Raleigh. This was the very first Raleigh Jefferson book. It's outstanding. It was really funny, and it's all of its stories make you want to laugh a lot. And its main plot is Greg telling Raleigh to make a story. Now, we already mentioned Diary of Greg Heffley's Best Friend, because that was really bad, because it copied from these stories, which are actually really good. And it's definitely an epic plot, and definitely an epic story as well. 7. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Wrecking Ball. So this happens after when one of Greg's great aunts passes away, and then they go to the wrong funeral. That's when wrong turns start to happen. They buy stuff for a new kitchen, which takes forever, and then all of a sudden, problems occur. Bees, rats, etc. Everything is going wrong in this story, and that what makes its charm very lovable. It is a simple book, but also an excellent book that you should definitely check out, because it is fantastic. 6. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Getaway. This was the very first good Diary of a Wimpy Kid book after Cabin Fever, which we'll get to shortly. Now, this book was really interesting because they went on vacation during Christmas, but there's some trouble going on. Sunburns, animals, dangerous animals, etc. Everything's trying to destroy them and try to kill them, I guess. That island is horrible and is a very dangerous place, which is why they need to get out of here. This was an epic book, considering the fact that it went back to its original roots, and the book is just very excellent in its own right. And it's one of my personal favorites because of its plot. 5. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Ugly Truth. This was a very interesting book. This is kind of like a sequel to Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Dog Days, because Raleigh and Greg just split up as friends. And the whole entire book, they have been split up for a long time. But its humor is really funny. Its plot lines, all of its plot lines, like subplot lines, main plot line, is funny. And everything is just really balanced. And honestly, it's definitely aged well due to its plots and its balance and its structure. Everything is really fantastic. 4. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Big Shot. Before you say it, this is not from Undertale. This is not based on the Big Shot Undertale character that's become a meme. No, this is about basketball. So Greg quits his athletic career, and then his mom tries to tell him to do one more time sports, and so he tries basketball, and he ends up actually making it to a worst team ever after the tryouts, the terrible tryouts. And this book is really good. It's really fun. It actually made me happy for basketball because of its story. I'm sorry for that delay. But yeah, this story is really good, and it's definitely a story that you should check out. 3. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Deep End. This was a really fantastic book. Them going on vacation after their disastrous home gets destroyed. They go on vacation to the RV park, which was pretty epic, and some other places as well. But it focuses more on the RV park. The story is well written. The plot is awesome. It just focuses on the main plot. It's just that the book is very fantastic and is truly a masterpiece. 2. Raleigh Jefferson's Awesome Friendly Adventure. This book is really good. Not only does it have the fairy tale segments, but it also shows stuff out of fairy tale segments with Greg complaining about Raleigh's story. This book is fantastic, and it's the best Raleigh book because of its writing, its plot, and 2 plots at the same story. It is a mind-blowing masterpiece. Number 1, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Cabin Fever. This book is just so good. It's all about, just, Nate and Raleigh getting in trouble, snowfall, etc. It's just very good, and it's truly the best Diary of a Wimpy Kid book ever. So, what did you guys think? That was epic. Thank you guys very much for watching this ranking video, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.